Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates, boy, do we celebrate the men and women who are working so hard in coastal Mississippi to make this such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, listen, I talk a lot about social media on this show because as I came from media, know how social media works, and definitely believe that there's some changes that need to happen in social media. But I came across this comment this morning. It's from a website, 365 Days of Baking and More. I don't know. It was recommending that to me. But the comment here was this: don't argue with people on social media. Every classroom had a kid who ate paste. That's probably who you're arguing with. I thought that was pretty good. My friend Frank Willem, really accomplished entrepreneur here in coastal Mississippi, posted this from J.M. Storm, and here's what it said: how odd it is that so much of what isn't said because it is true. That's an interesting thing, actually. Sometimes saying the truth might go against the conventional wisdom that's out there because people are following some notion of an event or a situation or the political scene. Interesting comment. And then my friend Calvin Ishii from Pastor Shan posted this from Mark Twain. I remember it well, but it's very powerful and it's also very true. The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. When you find out why. And I think the older we get, the more we have a feel for that. But I think someone who has actually found his why, I'm confident he has found his why, is my friend Dr. Matt Buckley, who was recently appointed the new superintendent of the Catholic Schools system. There's a transition that's going on. We'll talk about that here in just a second. He's also principal at St. Patrick's High School, and he's a friend. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good, Ricky. Great to see you as always.
It's good to see you too. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey man, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to look back at your time at St. Patrick. We're going to talk about the process you're going through to hire a new principal there. And, as it relates to St. Patrick's, academic achievement and sports achievement. I mean, in fact, the varsity boys team just advanced to the third round of playoffs. What a great accomplishment that's been. Soccer's been one of the good sports, but there's been others, and we'll come back to that here in just a second as well. But anyway, this is just a lot to talk about. First, I just want to say, man, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for the diocese and the Catholic school system that you have worked so hard through your education, through your experience, through your accomplishments at St. Patrick to become the head person there. And I really am proud of you, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate you saying that. It's truly an honor, and it's humbling, and I'm excited to get to work and continue to work to advance the mission of all of our Catholic schools here in South Mississippi.
It's amazing. I say this about my career. It's amazing how serendipity, happens. You meet people along the way. You decide, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this instead. It might be just a single conversation you have with somebody. There are these moments that constantly create these forks in the road, and you pick this one instead of this one, and before long. But you grew up at a Sacred Heart Catholic Church. When you look back at those days, I mean, was there ever even any notion in your mind that one day you would end up being the new superintendent of schools there?
Not at all. I actually grew up Protestant and converted to the Catholic faith. And I knew at an early age that I wanted to pursue education and that I wanted to make a difference in the lives of others as a teacher and make a positive difference. And then decided to pursue administration, and then came to St. Patrick now 10 years ago. Had the great opportunity to join the team here, and it's been a true honor. It's been one of the greatest honors of my life serving as principal here at St. Patrick, and I'm definitely excited about the next chapter, but never thought that I'd be working as a superintendent of schools for sure.
Well, Matt, I'm glad you reminded me of that. I remember now because we compared notes the first time we chatted, you growing up Protestant and converting to Catholicism. I grew up a Baptist and converted to Catholicism a year or two before my wife and I got married. And, one of the most important decisions I ever made, that, raising our kids in a when we're all together in religion. And my kids, as you well know, all three of them went through the Catholic school system and have had great success in their life. Ann and I are obviously, we're incredibly fond of St. Patrick and the Catholic school system in general. So our kids went to St. James as well. But we believe very strongly that their success in their college careers and then on to their professional careers, I mean, the groundwork that was laid at St. Patrick, and again, I keep saying St. Patrick, but I really mean the Catholic school system from the moment they entered into St. James all the way through. It tremendously laid a foundation for them. But you hear that over and over and over again, and that's what sort of motivates you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I love hearing stories like that, and appreciate you for sharing that. Or, the mission, I look at the mission of our Catholic schools to be threefold, that we want to maintain that academic excellence and make sure that our students are prepared in scholarship to achieve their greatest potential. We also want to provide that comprehensive high school experience or school experience, from all of our athletic teams to our extracurricular clubs and activities, to the leadership opportunities, and to be able to find what fits and what works and where students can excel. But the most important thing is the foundation of faith and the spirituality component and the service component and the concern and care for others in need, that focus on intentional discipleship. And so I think here at St. Patrick and at all of our Catholic schools, we've really focused on letting those three aspects permeate everything that we do and every decision that we make, and drive who we really are as an organization. And I think we've had a lot of success as a result of that.
There's absolutely no doubt about that. I should also point out my nephews, Peter and Nico Bohanovich, are in the Catholic school system. I have 3 grandkids now at St. James, and another one coming up that will be there in the next year or two. And my daughter's a teacher at St. James, and was a teacher, as you well know. You work closely with her at St. Patrick. So, we've got a very close connection. So it's a good reason to focus on it. And I should also point out, for people who are not regular listeners of Coast Vue, you should know that while we're focusing on the Catholic school system today, I spend a tremendous amount of time talking about the public school system in coastal Mississippi, talking to administrators, talking to superintendents, and the innovation that's happening at places like the Gulfport school system. I'm incredibly tuned into that. And whether it's public school or private school, you're in pretty good shape here in coastal Mississippi. And you know that to be the case, don't you, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I got a letter from Glen East just the other day congratulating me, and appreciate the work that they do and the work that educators. I've got many friends that are in our public education system all across the coast, and they do remarkable work each and every day.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, Glen East, I really admire him, some of the work that they're doing there, and preparing students for fields beyond just going off to college. The work preparation they're doing. I described that wing, in fact, at Gulfport High as sort of like Universal Studios, because they literally have recreated, a media lab and a retail store and a world-class commercial kitchen and a auto repair shop. It's really incredible. I'm sure you've been there, right?
I have not seen that. I'll have to check it out, though, for sure.
You'll have to go take a look at it. I'm sure he would open the door for you to take a look at it. And these unique relationships between his school and Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College and what they're doing there as well. So let's take a step back, though. I know from my own experience that when I'm moving to that next step in my life, as I achieve new goals in my life, I always had an opportunity during that transition to reflect a lot, to reflect on, what I accomplished, what my team accomplished, what made me most proud. What are the things I wanted to improve upon? How do I get better? Because, it's a journey, isn't it, Matt? You're constantly seeking, how can you improve the situation? But when you look back at your tenure at St. Patrick, what are you most proud of?
I think when I look, and I've spent a lot of time reflecting the past few months, because this is a bittersweet opportunity. I'm so excited about the future and to get to work with all of our Catholic school principals and teachers and staff and families and pastors all across the coast. But leaving the last 10 years here at St. Patrick every day is tough at times. I think what I am most proud of is the relationships that we've built. The team here, I think that we have been able to put together and assemble just the greatest team of faculty and staff who care about their students and care about the families that we're called to serve each and every day. So I think that's what I'm most proud of, is the people I've gotten to meet, the people I've gotten to work with and work alongside, and those relationships that have formed over the past 10 years.
Hey, so when we come back, we're coming to the end of the segment, but when we come back with Dr. Matt Buckley, the new Superintendent of Catholic Schools, and they're going through a transition. We'll talk a little bit more about that transition, but we'll talk about academic achievement and really kind of boil it all down. Talk about what some of those challenges were, COVID among them. Can you imagine how difficult that was? And we've talked about that many times here on Coast Vue. So we'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. Listen, I just got a note from my son just now, actually, Justin Matthews, who Matt knows well. And he works in New York City for Price Waterhouse. And he read the Bible last year in 365 days, and he finished up around Christmas. And Father Mike, who sort of shepherds that process along, you can see him on YouTube, is really terrific. In fact, Ann and I and Tori and Jordan, we're all doing the reading of the Bible in 365 days with Father Mike, and he just sent me a note talking about how good Father Mike is. And I'm sure you know a lot of people who are following Father Mike as well, aren't you?
Oh yeah, he's very charismatic, very dynamic. So I guess it was last year, the Bible in a year, you could read through the entire Bible in a year, what you're talking about. Now they actually have the Catechism in a year that he's put out recently. So I haven't checked that one out yet, but I've heard a lot of people talking about it.
I'm sure you do. Hey, listen, that quote I read at the very beginning, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. When I read that, what did it make you think of?
I'm still trying to figure out why, Rick, each and every day. No, I just getting, we search on fulfilling what our purpose is and what our calling is and what our vocation is and what we're destined and what God has called us to do and how we impact and serve other people each and every day. And it's a journey. And it's been a great journey to try to figure that out. And I'm still working each and every day.
Bishop Kinnaman is a really good friend of mine. We live near each other. We fish together occasionally. Yeah. We love to get in the boat together and just talk about life. And he's just a really good guy. When he named you the new superintendent, he talked about disciples and disciple makers. You've always used that same kind of language, but that's a really important part of what you do, isn't it?
It is. It's really the pillar of what we do and the central focus of everything else that surrounds who we are and what we do. And in the Great Commission, Jesus calls us to love and serve and form the disciples and to not stop until we accomplish that. And that's Bishop Kinnaman's vision and goal. He's been extremely specific and clear about his vision for the future of all of our schools within the diocese is to make disciples and to make disciple makers and to graduate kids who are going to go impact all of the people that they encounter in such a positive way, and that people will look at our graduates and our students and their families and they'll see Jesus in them in their work each day.
Well, we were lucky as a diocese that Dr. Mike Ladner came back as an interim superintendent when Dr. Rhonda Clark stepped down, or whatever the word is that she did. And so what we're in now is sort of in the midst of a transition. You're actually still sitting, as you talked to me this morning, at St. Patrick's, and you're still heavily engaged in the day-to-day there at St. Patrick's. So first, let's talk about the transition, and then you can sort of walk me through the process of filling the position for the principal there.
Dr. Ladner has been wonderful to work with. He was actually superintendent when I first became principal here at St. Patrick, and then I had the great pleasure of working with Dr. Clark for a number of years, and then appreciate Dr. Ladner for coming back this year and serving as interim superintendent. So he's always been extremely supportive and has worked well for all of our Catholic schools here in South Mississippi. So I'll officially begin the new position as superintendent on June 1st. And so until that time, I'll remain as principal here at St. Patrick. And I've had the opportunity to be involved in a lot of meetings and discussions with Bishop Kinnaman and with Dr. Ladner and the team at the diocese already, and we'll continue to do so over the next few months. But we'll continue to also work in preparing St. Patrick for the next leader and preparing St. Patrick to make sure that everything is well positioned here for the future.
Yeah, I love the notion. Of a nearly 6-month process. We're gonna do this methodically. We're going to give you plenty of time to fill this position and get the person in that seat and train properly. It's going to make sense to take that time, isn't it?
I think so. When I first spoke with Bishop Kinnaman about the position and officially accepted the position and his calling, then that's what we talked about, is that he wanted to make sure that St. Patrick, and I agree completely, that St. Patrick is well taken care of and well positioned for the future, and that we have the opportunity to search for and to recruit and to hire the best next leader for the school here.
Well, again, we're going to get into academic achievement and what really has put St. Patrick's on sort of the national map for being one of the better schools in the United States. I can only imagine that has opened up, I don't want to say Pandora's box, but I'll say Pandora's box of opportunity, okay? That there's probably a lot of people interested in this position. Is that what you're finding?
I hope so. Yeah, we opened applications right after the first of the year, and we'll continue accepting applications through mid-February. So we do have some interest, some great interest so far, and we've put together a committee of stakeholders that will review those applications, and then we'll set up interviews and we'll meet with prospective candidates.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's going to be an important process. People are going to be watching you closely during that. Your first big position is filling your position. Excuse me. Your first big decision is filling your position. So let's go back a little bit and reflect. First, let's just talk about academic achievement as it relates to St. Patrick's.
Yeah. So our team here, are big from an academic standpoint. A big push has been to just increase rigor and increase relevance and increase academic scores and make sure that all of our students have the opportunity to get into the best colleges, to maximize the college scholarship opportunities, and to excel academically and from a scholarship standpoint. Since in the last 10 years, we've increased our ACT score. We currently have over a 26 ACT average. We have a number of students with ACT scores over 30. We've had several students earn a perfect ACT score, many with a 36, a 35. So it's remarkable the work that our students and teachers have done to make sure that academically, the students are graduating academically strong and ready to step foot into the college or university classroom and excel. I hear stories from alumni often about how they go to the university and they know exactly what to expect, and they know exactly how to perform at the highest level possible. I get to have conversations with those who are like Justin in New York and, traveling the country, traveling the world, and just continue to excel. And those opportunities are endless for each of them. We've continued to lead the way with technology and make sure that we're pushing for being innovative in the technology that we provide our students and teachers, and giving them all of the resources that they need to be successful as well. From an academic standpoint, as we've mentioned before, back in 2019, we were named the National Blue Ribbon School, ranking us among the top 1% of private schools in the nation, which is extremely exciting, and extremely proud of that opportunity as well, and that accomplishment of our team as well. And then have been ranked the #1 Catholic high school in the state of Mississippi for 2 years now. So we've done a lot. Our team has done a lot of work with regard to academics and making sure that our students are prepared for the next level and to be successful.
It really is incredible. I think back at the conversations you and I had just as the pandemic was, coming to fruition. And then, of course, after the pandemic, we started, and you were on several times just to talk about what you guys were doing to adjust. But I think one of the things that helped you not only survive that, but maybe thrive through that process if there's such a thing, because I know the educational process was so difficult during that time, was the fact that you were always strategically focused. You're around things like technology and all the things that you were putting into place created sort of a foundation for you to build off of once the foundation started. And you cannot understate how important that strategic focus was to helping you get through the pandemic, can you?
No, that's such a unique time, such a strange time when we look back and trying to figure out what to do and how to navigate and safety concerns and health concerns, but still maximize educational opportunities. It was just a real unique time. I'm proud to say that at St. Patrick, we never closed school. We never missed a day. When we ended in-person learning on Friday without knowing what the future was going to hold or knowing what was going to happen, that next Monday, our students were in class virtually. We had all of the equipment in place, all of the training in place. Everything had been orchestrated to be successful at that, to a virtual learning environment before we ever knew that was a possibility. And that's to the thanks of our team for just working through all of that tirelessly. And then our students and parents for being supportive and for continuing to make their educational journey and their process a priority.
And what's really cool about that, again, we just have personal knowledge of all these different aspects, but through your technology, parents were already linked in. So parents could be engaged and follow the progress of their kids. And again, you didn't have to train people. That was already in place. The technology to enable that was already in place. And to me now, looking back, it's so impressive to think that all of the focus and attention to detail and the ability to implement the strategies. You can have the best strategic plan in the world, but if you can't implement, you've really not done anything. And, including implementing the technology, which is not easy, by the way. It's not easy at all to implement new technology. When we come back with Dr. Matt Buckley, we're going to continue the conversation about accomplishments at St. Patrick, and then we'll shift gears and talk a little bit more about what is he now superintendent of? What's that look like as we go forward? We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Coast Vue. We're visiting with Dr. Matt Buckley, my friend Matt, who I've known for many, many, many years and have followed his career and his ascension to this current position. They're going through a transition. He'll officially be there in June as a new superintendent for Catholic schools here in the Biloxi Diocese. But it's been fun to watch him. But it's been, I think one of the things, we talked a little bit about the academic side of this and the thriving that has taken place there. But Matt, whether it's doing off-site team building exercises or encouraging kids to do missions, or whether it's all these other extracurricular activities, these clubs and other things that are part of it, we tend to focus on classroom and athletics, but it's the extracurricular activities that kind of give kids this opportunity to experience so many different dimensions of life and growing up and learning new things. That's really important, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And we want our students to, when we look at what we want students to be when they graduate, we want them to be leaders. We want them to be scholars. We want them to be champions. And most importantly, we want them to be disciples. And we, work to provide all of those opportunities for kids to get plugged in and to find something that they're good at and that they're strong in and that they want to work hard at and excel in. And that's where lifelong friendships are made. That's where they just continue to grow in leadership and in discipleship.
Well, I saw, was it the junior class recently went off for an offsite seminar, team building or what? Tell me, what was that? I was impressed by it, actually, but I can't remember what you called it.
Yeah, so we do a retreat. So each year, each grade level has an opportunity to attend a retreat once a year. And so for our juniors and seniors, back earlier this month, they had their spiritual retreat. And we took them to a location over in Fairhope, Alabama, and we brought in a team to lead the retreat. And they did team building exercises and leadership exercises and things such as that. But then they really focused on time for prayer and time to build each other up and time to focus on their spiritual journey and their walk with God and their faith journey and how they can support their classmates and their peers and other other students here at the school. So it was a remarkable experience. They did a great job, but they had the opportunity to step away from campus, to step away from school, and to really focus on those opportunities.
Well, I've done a lot of reading about the stresses that are on kids these days, and it's tremendous. It's not just social media, but certainly that plays a big role.
Yeah.
If you go and look at schools that have had issues, usually it has to do with kids not respecting one another, not having, I think obviously faith plays a big role in that, but you have to pay more attention now to the individual student and not only how they see themselves, which is a hugely important part of this overall discussion, but how they see their friends and their fellow students. You probably can't do enough of those kind of conversations and retreats, so that when you're going about life and these pressures happen, that kids have a better opportunity to choose the right thing to do as opposed to the not so right thing to do. That's something as a principal I bet you think about a lot.
I do, and the faith part of our mission is huge, and the focus on teaching gospel values and having parents support those at home, I think, can't be stated enough. But we want to teach students at all of our Catholic schools to look for Jesus in the people that they encounter, and to treat people with kindness and with respect. And there's, of course, many mental health concerns right now with teenagers, and the pressures that I think kids face nowadays is huge compared to even when I grew up, and those are challenges that we work towards and face every day. But here at St. Patrick and at all of our Catholic schools, I'm proud of the environment that we're able to provide because of the support of our parents and families, and then because of the work of our teachers and staff. And I think our Catholic schools do a great job of personalizing learning and meeting the needs of each student on a personal and an individual level.
Well, what's interesting is you almost have to have a zero tolerance approach, that if something does go awry, you've really done a great job of training, your administrators, your teachers, even students for that matter, and your responses, and parents, I might add, your response is usually pretty swift, and you just don't leave a stone unturned when you're dealing with individual safety.
Right.
That's
no,
unfortunate.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that has to be part of the conversation, but certainly it is. We mentioned sports achievement. Of course, the varsity boys have advanced to the third round of the playoffs. Boys soccer teams has done well over the years, but so has track. Football is coming along. Baseball's done well along the way. How do you characterize the sports role and the sports achievement during your tenure there?
Yeah, we have so much interest in our athletic teams and our athletic programs, and want to see them excel and be the absolute best we can be. And our coaches and our team here really focuses on teaching kids to be part of something that's bigger than yourself. And I think that's huge. And there's so many lessons learned through athletics. And of course, we bring in the faith and spirituality and discipleship component into that as well. Over the past 10 years, our teams have achieved more than 40 state championships across the board. Right now, our soccer teams and basketball teams are strong. We've got bowling happening. We've got wrestling and powerlifting. All of those things are happening now. We just finished up our fall sports with our cross-country teams, and football and cheerleading and dance and band, and of course, we're getting started here in the spring with baseball and softball and track and tennis and golf. So we just want to provide as many opportunities for kids to be successful and to work at something that they enjoy and that they love and have a passion for. But we want to teach them and to grow and to serve in that capacity.
Wow, that was a great answer, and a very comprehensive one, I might add as well. One I'm sure you've given more than once for sure, but it's a tremendous accomplishment. And I see embedded in that a bunch of sort of principles, but one might be just keep kids busy. And if you're going to keep them busy in something that they can learn a lot about life from. So like team sports is a terrific opportunity to do that, but to do it in sort of a faith-based way and to be part of a winning, formula. I mean, the coaches there have really, man, you got to be proud when you look across that cadre of coaches.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And they work hard. They, in many cases, they're up early driving buses and teaching classes, and then doing after-school athletic practices, and then games and stuff late into the evening. So they work extremely hard, and I just can't say enough about our team here and how hard they work and how committed they are to our students and to our school.
That's really cool. Well, what the listeners can sort of, obviously conclude from this conversation is that Matt recognizes that in order to have a well-rounded child who can go off from where they choose to go to work or where they choose to go further their education in college, that they come out as good human beings, ready if they're ready to do that, to continue their educational achievements. But some decide to go to work and do extraordinarily well. But the goal is to have as complete a human being as possible when they graduate from St. Patrick's. And you've done a really good job at that. And I commend you for that, because I personally have witnessed the transition, your transition in your career. As you look forward, how do you describe what your new role is going to be, and sort of give a sense of the scope of it, the schools that are engaged, et cetera?
Yeah, so in South Mississippi in the Diocese of Biloxi, we have 14 Catholic schools. So I look at my role as superintendent as serving those schools and serving them to reach their greatest potential in advancing their mission and the mission of each, ultimately advancing the mission of Catholic education all across the diocese. I want to see all of our schools grow in enrollment, where each reaches maximum capacity, has a waiting list in place, and that we're enrolling all students who choose and all families who choose a Catholic school for their family and for their children, that they would be able to have that opportunity, and that there's no barriers that stand in the way, whether it's affordability or accessibility, that we remove all of that so that everyone who desires a Catholic education can get that and can see excellence through the Catholic education that each of our schools provide. Also, I think we need to have a strong vision for the future, and we need to practice financial prudence and make sure that we have a plan in place to grow endowed funds and perpetual funds so that our Catholic schools will remain strong hundreds and hundreds of years and generations from now, from a financial standpoint. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is to make sure that the focus of everything that we do remains on forming intentional disciples and remains on forming disciple makers, so that we're graduating kids who are going into the world to make a positive difference in the lives of serving others. So I look at my role as serving the pastors in attaining that, and the principals and the teachers and the staff and the students and the families, and look forward to getting started and meeting everyone and working with all of our schools.
Well, that's so amazing to hear. One of the things that Ann and I were talking about, we're coming to the end of the segment. We'll pick this up on the other side, but we were chatting this morning about how many students were at St. Patrick's when it first opened, and then where is it today? And I know that during the aftermath of the pandemic, or during the pandemic, there was a bump in enrollment. Curious to really understand how enrollment at Catholic school system, how it's grown over the last 10 years. And then how do you think about that from a capital point of view? It's got to be mind-boggling when you really start to, get your head around all that. But we'll continue here in just a second with Matt Buckley, the new superintendent of the Catholic Diocese Schools, here in just a second. Welcome back to Coast Vue. Matt and I visited during one of our breaks, and I mentioned to him that I really enjoy visiting with him. He's a very impressive, I say young man, but he's not so young anymore. But he's still very much younger than I am. But it's someone I've watched closely, and we have very good chemistry. I enjoy spending time with him here because it gives us an opportunity to really reflect on what it takes to be good at what you do, whether you're a pastor in the school or a principal in the school, your faculty or staff or administrators, students' role, the family's role, the parents' role. Everyone has a part to play. And when we have a conversation with Dr. Matt Buckley, we get an opportunity to really fully encompass all those bits and pieces. And at the end of the day, as he points out, it's to create the best disciples he can create. That is for sure. Hey, before we went to break, I mentioned that Ann and I were having a chat about what seems to be just incredible growth in that school since it opened. I remember thinking it's big, but it didn't stay big. It needs to be bigger now, doesn't it? So how do you reflect about the enrollment gains there over the years?
When I first was appointed principal here at St. Patrick, that was one of the main focuses was on our enrollment. I think we were at a critical point, had about 375 students enrolled at the time, and had seen declining enrollment. A lot of that related to the economy at the time, a lot of it related to past decision making, some of it to just challenges that we were facing. And so that was one of the first things that we really set out to attack. And 10 years later now, here we are, and we're at full capacity with 630 something kids. We have a waiting list in place. We're about to have even a bigger waiting list in place as we enroll for the 23-24 school year. And we're having talks about capital improvements and about having a capital plan to expand our facility and build more classrooms and build more athletic facilities all across campus. And so it's exciting to have been able to watch that happen and to work hard each and every day to make that happen, but to grow, from 375 kids to being at full capacity. And so we're proud of that.
Nearly double. When you look across the diocese, do you see growth literally all across? Maybe not to the extent of doubling capacity, but tell me, what do you see?
So all of our Catholic schools have grown. So over 4,000 students in the Diocese of Biloxi, and there's still room to grow. So that's one of the things I mentioned is one of our goals is to grow enrollment at all of our schools until they're all at full capacity.
Yeah. Actually, the goal, if I were sitting in your chair, if I was the bishop, I would say the goal ultimately can't be now, because you don't have the capital requirements that would enable that, but would be that everyone who wants a Catholic education gets a Catholic education. You can't, right. We're not going to turn anyone down. It's great to have accomplished the goal of full capacity, but you don't feel like you've achieved the goal in some ways. Is that true?
Yeah, and hopefully one day, exactly what you said is the goal, that every family who desires a Catholic education for their family, we want to be able to provide that. And so hopefully in years from now, we're having conversations about building schools and about adding schools, and that all of our schools have grown to the point that we need to add more and need the resources, go out and find the resources to make that happen.
Capital plans are not easy to tackle. I remember so well, Joe Canizero, who was instrumental in providing sort of that spot where St. Patrick is located today. Wish we had more Joe Canizeros in the community, but it's a massive undertaking, though. Really, when you think about, you don't just add on a classroom or two. You have to really decide where is the future going and build for that. And it's a massive undertaking, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And we've had a great opportunity here to build out our this past year. We built out a new 5-year strategic plan. We were able to involve so many members of the community and our stakeholders and our board here, and so many of our benefactors and donors and alumni, to seek their input about the future and their vision and really our culminating vision for the future. What we've tried to do is we've really built our entire advancement department here from the ground up over the past few years, is to create a culture of giving, that we want everyone giving to the mission here at the school. And whatever that looks like for each person, whether it's large dollar amounts or small dollar amounts, we want everyone to give because they believe in the mission and they believe in the future and the vision that we have for Catholic education and for the future in providing an excellent Catholic education to everyone who desires it.
And you multiply that times the number of schools in the entire diocese, and I would assume that this is the way it's going to play out across the entire school system, is really understanding and not only understand where you're going, but connecting with benefactors in a way that helps everyone sort of get on the same page in the community about where the school system is headed. I say this about coastal Mississippi all the time. It takes a lot of people to make this community tick. And the same thing is true in the school system, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. And we rely on so many people, and the love and support that they have for our school and for Catholic education is just tremendous. And it inspires me each and every day. Well,
Matt, as usual, it has been a pleasure. This has been Dr. Matt Buckley, the new superintendent of schools for the Catholic diocese here in coastal Mississippi. He's a good friend, someone I really admire. I wish you well. I can't wait till you get in that new seat, and we'll chat some more about the future of the Catholic school system on your leadership.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate you having me on, and look forward to talking again.
You bet. You bet. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.